All right, so here we are, Ableton Live 11, or wait, 10, sorry. I do have 11, but this project at the time I had 10. Here we go. And I had to freeze a lot of tracks, as you can see. But let's have a listen real quick. Yeah, as you can see, I had guitars added by this point, and intro is way too long because that's where the verse kicked in right there instead of doing that. But yeah, let's check it out. And I think I used, let's look at the guitars here. Here we go. I found the right bus. This looks more like it. As you can see, Fab Filter. I added a little bit of the Echo Boy Jr. from Sound Toys. I love this thing. Probably my favorite delay. Use Guitar Room to give it some of that room. And a little bit of eighth notes there to give it a little dimension. This is great from Kush Audio. Clariphonic EQ. If you need to kind of like add a little bit more presence and treble without it killing your ears, this is always great to use. Also, the Moog EQ from Plugin Alliance is another great one. I think it's EQ2 or 4. They're both great. This guy's a lifesaver. Track Spacer from Waves Factory. Love this thing. You can set the attack and release. You sidechain whatever you want, where you want it to do the ducking or where you don't. And it's really cool. As you can see, I have it ducking for the sax, the vocals, and more vocals, and snare. And just a little utility for good measure, just to add a little bit more volume. It looks like I need a little more gain there. But yeah, let's hear it. Yep, without this on. Yeah, pretty cool. So yeah, the Marshall JMP1, I love that thing. My favorite preamp of all time. Use some saturation, some compression, and the kick here. And then, as I was talking about earlier, layering, I ended up layering the kick. Okay, so that one, probably more for the attack. So I'm not doing a whole lot of compression. Less than a dB. About a dB of gain reduction there. There's OTT, but this is... Yeah, I'm confused. Who knows? But yeah, this is really great. Of course, Ableton has their own OTT. Either one's fantastic. I'm just used to this GUI that I like, so that's why I use this more so than the other one, which is not showing up here. I have no idea what this one is. Saturator, really nice. And the snare, which is that really open snare that we heard earlier. And some Fab Filter, tape mellow. And as you can see, I don't have the SSL channel strip anymore. Really loved it, but I just felt like I had other stuff, later on that I could use in its place. And by that point, it was this song had already been mixed and released, so I just didn't go back and change that. What's this one? Okay, yeah, that was the one with the more, I guess, the attack. And yeah, see, sometimes this thing does really weird things. I think it's when I update waves, and the older version is what was used at the time, I guess. But since it's froze, it's still, doing it. So that's why I don't unfreeze these tracks. But yeah, multiband, which I find is a really good multiband that Ableton has. The glue compressor, Crystalline is really nice. By the Midnight, just kidding. It's really great. I think Baby Audio, yeah, it just has a really nice presence to it. Sometimes you'll get reverbs and you have to add EQs to them because they're so dark sounding. So let's see. Yeah. And then by this point, as you can see, I had consolidated the toms. In the last project, the Logic project, I had 2 tom tracks. And so I just consolidated the 2. And most likely what happened, and I think this is what I did, is the old project we looked at with some of the effects I used, I just bounced dry. And this is why you're seeing all these effects. I didn't use all those effects in Logic and bounce it and use all these effects on. No. I just, bounced it, the WAV files dry, and then just redid the plugins, because sometimes doing a fresh start, if you don't like the mix, is a good idea. And you find out, whoa, okay, yeah, this is working much better. Yeah, I really like the tom sound. Cymbals, I don't really need all that. And all these effects, risers and whatnot. Here we go, bass. Let's see what the bass sounds like now. Yeah. Okay. On the bus, track spacer, because I wanted it out of the way of the kick and the snare, lead vocals. It's really helpful. If you don't have track spacer, there's other things that you can do. You can sidechain, use a compressor to sidechain instead. So this is basically what this is doing. It's just like sidechaining, just made easier, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, really like that. And multi-band. So I really wanted to emphasize some of the more low end, since I don't really... At this time, I didn't really utilize low end as much on the bass because I was too scared, like, oh, it's too much bass. But as time went on, I realized that actually I need a lot more bass, because that's the other tip that I learned, is that when you're mixing and mastering, sometimes you just don't realize it, or I didn't. You're like, why doesn't my mix sound as professional as this mix? It sounds like they have kind of the same compression thing going on. It sounds like they have the same even level sometimes, but it just, there's something missing. And oftentimes it would end up being that I just didn't have enough bass filling up the space to give that fullness. And so yeah, remember that. Maybe try that and see if that's what the problem is if you're just not adding enough bass oomph to your mix. And a trick to do with that, because sometimes it can be really easy to like make your speakers be woofy and everything else with bass, right? And you're like, well, how do I add more bass if it's going to do that? We'll go in with like a Fab Filter, or at least any kind of EQ that has like dynamic compression, and go in and watch the visual and see like a spectral analyzer, or that, any modern EQ will have where you can see where the frequencies are hitting more or less. And so that's what I would do, is just whatever part you hear in the song that's like or whatever, go in and watch it and then see what frequency that is, and then just put on some dynamic EQ there and to duck that down and even that part out. And that's what you have to do sometimes in order to get that bass in there, because if you don't, it's just going to sound really flat, and your mix is not going to sound as professional without that really nice full bass happening. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, yeah, that's the one that I'm emphasizing more, the attack. That's more the bass. Also side chaining, as you can tell, like I was saying earlier, using track spacer, that's why you hear the pumping, right? Because you don't always need the bass just full throttle the whole time, you won't even really notice it in the full mix. Most of the time you won't notice it. Like, oh, that bass is not loud on every part there. You won't notice it because so much is already happening, so you don't need that. That dun 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 dun. It gives the illusion that it's just always going anyway. See? This chance, don't let it go. So, synths. What do I have here? Oh, this is something I love to do with the synths. Is I like to carve out some mid-range because you don't necessarily always need it in the mid-frequency area. My bad. I mean the lower frequencies in that mid-range spectrum because you want to save that for the bass. And oftentimes, except for this song, this song you can hear the bass is kind of like wide, so it's not just mono. But oftentimes you use a bass that's mono, and of course your kick and your snare is going to be mono, and your vocals are going to be mono. And if you have certain lead sounds, they're going to be mono. So you don't want your synths dancing all over that, or the opposite, So just cut that out. You don't need anything below 100 to 200, somewhere in that range. Just kind of experiment, listen, and see where you like it. And so that's what I did with the synths. So this is the synth bus. So this is overall. Let's see here. Yeah, it's a really cool sound. I'm wanting to say that might be Serum that I ended. Oh, yeah. It tells me right here. Hello, McFly. Yeah, Serum is another VST I love. See the brass here. Hive 2. It's really cool. And, of course, Hive 2 again. We were listening to this earlier. Oh, that's the other thing. Sometimes mixing in solo is necessary, but don't do it so much that you're like, oh, that sounds great. And then when you listen to the whole mix, it's like, what's going on? This sounds horrible. Because sometimes on solo, the sounds are going to sound horrible. Like that at least to me, that does not sound very good. But in the context of the mix, of course, right there you can't even hear it. You just experiment. That's the thing with mixing. Every song is a new adventure. Let's see. Okay, so that one is Diva. Love Diva. So use some saturator, and it did have a channel strip, and what I would usually use on that channel strip is the EQ, and I would just touch it with some compression. But that's what it sounds like. Because it's froze here. If I unfreeze this, it's not going to sound like that. But, let's see. Okay. What's this? Yeah. I love those bell type sounds. I'm just a bell of a guy. Yeah, that was bad. All right, let's see here. Oh yeah, the Spire. I love that one, the Turbo Kid one. Which I highly recommend Turbo Kid if you haven't seen that movie. If you're into the whole retro 80s thing, especially if you like the whole kind of campy gore, because there's a lot of gore in that movie, just really exaggerated. It's pretty fun, but yeah, very 80s, great soundtrack. Le Matos, I mean, come on, it's great stuff. All right, let's see. We have the DX7, which I had shown earlier. The upright. Oh yeah, once again, it consolidated the uprights with the regular piano, the grand. see. As you can see, I emphasize on the EQ here, the mid frequency there, using mid side, which I have to give it to Ableton. I think their plugins are fantastic. I think you could totally do a mix with just Ableton plugins only. But, as you know, as a producer or a songwriter, we just like all the toys. There's just a lot of color in those different plugins and different, sometimes shortcuts that we like. So yeah, there's the saxophone from Ilia. I think it's Ilia Skibinsky. Fantastic saxophone player. If you need a saxophone in your song, definitely look him up on Fiverr. He's fantastic. I use him on every chance I get. So I think he did Santa Monica, the sax on that, Carry the Light. Of course, this song, We Are the Dreamers. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, Neon Summer. He did the saxophone solo in Neon Summer. He just has an ear for melody. So, and he's good. He's really technically great too. You can do all your cool runs. Okay, looks like reverb, the glue, fab filter, fresh air. Oh yeah, this is free from Slate Digital. It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier with the Kush Audio Clariphonic EQ, where if you're looking for something to bring out more presence or treble without killing your ears, this is a great one to use right there. Matter of fact, let's see. I'll just show you real quick here, because it's just a really easy, simple plugin. Look at that. 2 knobs. That's it. And you can chain them together or have them independent of each other. Have a trim knob. How much easier can that get? And it sounds great too. So highly recommend you go download that when you get the chance. It's really cool. Yeah, that's about it. I mean, since I didn't really go over the vocals that much on the last session in Logic, let's do it here. This is our chance. The verse here.
Arcade nights, escape was our reality.
All right. Because I didn't have the native channel strip from SSL, so I kind of used this channel strip from Universal Audio and threw in a little bit of LA2A as well. As you can see, all these effects here. Let's see what we got going on here real quick.
Arcade nights, escape was our reality. Summer dreaming at the mall.
Okay, here we go. So C, E, and F. C. Okay, some delay. Crystalline and Valhalla Vintage Verb, which love. I use Valhalla Vintage Verb probably 95% of the time, maybe more. But yeah, let's take a look here. Aha. I use this probably 99% of the time, this Echo Boy Jr. Love it. See, I have a quarter note here.
Arcade nights.
So it just kind of tails off a little bit there. And then Crystalline. Here we go.
Arcade nights, escape was our reality.
Okay, so that just kind of adds a little bit of that. Like I said, just a little more presence in a reverb. I really like Crystalline for that.
Arcade nights, escape was our Arcade night.
See, it just kind of adds this more higher, more presence or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Let's see. All right, here we go. Verse without anything on it.
Arcade nights. Escape was our reality.
Okay.
Arcade nights. Escape was our reality.
Yeah, it's really nice reverb. And so you have 400 hertz that I'm cutting. And plus 15 on the tone. So I wanted to add a little bit more high end on this one. So you can duck it. You have dry, wet, start and end, where your tail is, everything. It's really nice. Add a gate, transient, smoothing, reflections, the sparkle with all this good stuff, shimmer. I recommend it if you're looking for a nice, really nice, I wouldn't get it if you're kind of more into the analog style reverbs, the plates and stuff that you would hear in classic 70s and early 80s albums. You're not going to get that nice warmth. You probably could, messing around with these settings here, but I think the strong suit of this guy here is, like I said, it just has a really nice, pristine sound to it. And plus, also, you can do, a fair amount of cool stuff with it, like modulation and shimmer. So if you're into, like, not just a simple reverb, this is a great thing to have here.
Arcade night.
Okay. All right, so let's see what's going on here with Valhalla.
Arcade nights. Escape.
Yeah, more of a plate, so.
Arcade nights. Escape was our reality.
Yeah, it's a little bit darker. Always like to cut 400 hertz when it comes to vocal reverb. I just feel like it's so much cleaner. And as you can see, Comeback Kid verb is what I called this, because I think I got these settings from the Midnight video, like Tim McEwen mixing video, and I may have, kind of tweaked a couple things for my personal taste. Like, maybe, I'm not sure if Tim had cut off 400 hertz or not. Where's the delay?
Arcade nights. Escape was our reality. Summer dreaming. At the mall we found our destiny.
Yeah, adding that last one definitely pulled the vocals back some.
Arcade night.
But in the context of the mix, let's see.
Arcade nights. Escape was our reality. Summer dreaming. At the mall we found our destiny. And we loved and we hurt and we fought to be heard. Heartache, broken dreams with your heart.
Oh, that's what's different. If you'll notice on the newer We Are the Dreamers version featuring Michael Oakley, I actually stopped there. I don't keep going with that. Like,
and we loved and we hurt and we fought to be heard. Heartache, broken dreams with your heart on the floor.
so it doesn't say broken dreams with your heart on the floor. It's just broken dreams, and then it goes on to the next thing. That actually was a suggestion from Ollie Wride, so I feel special. And I like that. That was cool. At first, took me a little bit to get used to it. I was kind of against it at first. Michael Oakley was like, well, just give it a few days, listen to it, see what you think. And yeah, it was good, because ended up still using kind of the I guess fast-paced thing that kept going like that on the second round, the second half right here.
In the car, in the days, in those nights, reaching for the stars.
So we did keep it there. Because we did try both. We did try it where it cut off there as well. And we just didn't like it. So decided to go ahead and keep that. And then here's the chorus. And I try to keep the vocals very consistent. So usually I'll use the same stuff. Here, like I was saying, like these aren't the effects that I had on the vocals. It was initially the SSL native channel strip 2. But I had to find something so you guys can hear at least something close to what it ended up sounding like. But yeah, try to keep it consistent and just use the same thing.
Reaching for the stars, one night could change forever. We'll drive far from the world.
Yeah, just keep it consistent, and the only thing that might change is just sometimes automation. Sometimes different levels might be different, as you can see here, 1 and then 2 on the chorus, just so that it's a little bit louder and more boom in your face than the verse and pre-chorus.